Hey, Moline High School. This is Miss Borman, and we're going to continue our conversations on respect and responsibility for today, September 13th, 2023. So, last week's lesson, I went back and looked at everybody's input and just kind of really enjoyed reading what everybody put as their definitions for respect and responsibility. So, I kind of just summarized some of the stuff that I came up with. And you guys a lot of people said this statement that respect means treating others the same way you want to be treated. Understanding other people's boundaries was one that came up quite a bit, and speaking the truth about others. I really liked that sentence because I believe that as well. Speaking truth is a really big thing that I know happens a lot, especially when we get into like social media and texting and stuff and rumors and things like that in school. Speaking the truth is something that is kind of a big deal and goes right along with respect. What respect looks like: being kind to others, even if you disagree with them. Respect looks like communication. I liked that statement as well because it really does. Having open and honest communication and how we communicate can definitely show respect. And keeping things that you shouldn't say to yourself. That is a big one. That is a hard one to practice, even with adults. So, responsibility. A lot of you said owning up to your mistakes, being truthful to what you choose to do every day, and showing the world the person you want to be. Excuse me. That is really good definitions of responsibility. And what does responsibility look like? Doing the right thing, even if it's hard, and doing the right thing, even when others are not looking. I really appreciated both of those. That's something that I tried to teach my children as well, and I've kind of repeated throughout the years of being a counselor. Doing the right thing, even when it's hard, and even when people are not looking. Okay, so today we're going to continue with respect and responsibility. We're going to talk about what that looks like in school, what that looks like outside of school, and then we have another activity very similar to last week's activity. So, at the beginning of the school year, the deans made videos about the behavior expectations in the school. And I'm not going to show them again, but I did make them available to watch in the Google Classroom if you want to go back and look at them again. We also have a link to the student handbook for the high school here on these slides that the teachers have access to. And it's also in your Google Classroom that you can click on the student handbook if you'd like to read more about it. And I'm just going to summarize some of the things because I think respect and responsibility in school is not only to the teachers and everything, but to the handbook, to following the rules of the school. So at Moline High School, we have core values, the 4 R's: respect, responsibility, readiness, and relationships. Obviously, today we're talking about respect and responsibility. In this unit, we're going to talk about relationships here in a few weeks too, to kind of add all of that in. And yes, we have the readiness and the 4 R's, and I think that goes right along with respect and responsibility. So at Moline, when you respect all people, belongings, beliefs, and environments. And responsibility: be responsible for your words, choices, actions, and belongings. Okay, so another big one was the new cell phone policy. I know I've gotten a lot of feedback from students both directions. Some people really like it, some students don't like it. But it's during instructional periods. You will have 3 options for securing your phone. It can remain in the locker, put into a wall pocket in the classroom, or put away in the student pocket or pencil case. So not having your phones during instructional class time. That is a big, huge change. We really need to have respect in honoring that policy and also being responsible for keeping our phones away and following that rule. The backpacks and purses, that they are to be stored in your assigned school locker, not permitted in the classrooms. And the whole attending sporting events and dances and everything at Wharton Field House. We got to keep our backpacks and purses put away. Bullying, aggressive behavior. So bullying is defined as seeking to harm, intimidate, or coerce someone perceived as weaker. And if you engage in this type of behavior, you are subject to school disciplinary action. That is, again, respecting other people and being responsible for our actions. We can't pick on people. We can't constantly bully. We have to figure out ways to resolve conflict rather than intimidation and being disrespectful and rude. Just a little bit more about respecting the rules of the school, the tardy and truancy policies. So if you arrived at periods 1 through 7 within the first 14 minutes and you do not have a pass, you need to get a tardy kiosk pass, and you will be considered tardy for that period. If it's after 14 minutes, you are considered absent. So that's a lot of the questions that I'll get from parents. They'll be like, why was my student marked absent? If you don't have a pass or a reason why you were that late, you will be considered absent from the period after the 14 minutes that the bell started. Okay, so I think, again, we can all agree that in school rules, we kind of all know them. It's kind of the same stuff. We just had a little bit of tweaks this year to some of the same policies that had already been in place here at Moline High School. Like I said, the cell phone policies, been tweaked a little newer, trying to enforce more of the whole backpack policy. Got to keep those backpacks in your lockers, no bags, no purses. And we really got to be responsible and be respectful of the rules and follow them here in school. I think respect and responsibility kind of comes into play a little bit more outside of school and within our interactions with people. And again, we're going to talk more about how we communicate and interact with others when we hit more of relationships here in the next few weeks. Excuse me. But I want to talk a little bit more about respect and responsibility outside of school. So when we discuss being respectful and responsible, we don't really have an adult handbook. There are many adults that could probably use a handbook on how to be respectful and responsible outside of school, but there is no adult handbook. In the community, we have laws that govern us on how to drive, what we can do that's legal and illegal, and what's criminal. But we don't really have a social handbook that guides our society. All of our behaviors that are social are tended to be taught at home, guided by culture, our religious beliefs, and there's many other factors that can come into play what you consider respectful and responsible. Social media and technology has probably been the cause of many forms of disrespect and irresponsibility. I've noticed it over the last few years, just as much as I've had children that have grown up with it, and the technology, how people can just have a tendency to hide behind their screen. They can say things without thinking. They may say things on text or in social media that they may not say to somebody's face. And many of those issues can turn into in-person fights, very hurt feelings, and a lot more disrespect and irresponsibility face to face just because it started on social media. So when I talk about outside of school, especially with high school kids, I feel like a lot of it comes from the social media and the texting piece and how we communicate via our phones and via technology, which then turns into very much disrespect in person as well. Because if you're upset with somebody about something that they said in a text message or social media, it has a tendency to kind of sit inside of you and hurt your feelings. And then when you are in front of that person, you have a tendency to be a lot more disrespectful and probably irritable and short. And it becomes very irresponsible the way that we communicate that way. So your definitions of respect and responsibility, I feel that can be summarized as treat others the way you want to be treated, using kind communication, even when you don't agree. Showing the world the person you want to be by doing the right thing, even when no one is looking or even when it's hard. That is kind of what I summarized from what you guys wrote. And I really like both of those definitions. I think you guys did an awesome job with that. So now we're going to get to the activities, and this is where you guys are going to get a chance to kind of discuss a little bit more and think a little bit deeper into respect and responsibility inside and outside of school. So there's a Google Doc just like last time. I'll show you what that looks like so you can kind of see some of the questions. It's about the statement that I summarized for you, and you get to talk about whether you agree with the statement, why or why not. The rules for inside of school are pretty clear and have been basically the same rules in all schools. The cell phone policy is the newest at Moline. How can you help support this policy? And has this change been difficult for you to follow? Why or why not? And then the social media and communication via technology has greatly impacted mental health and communication skills. So I'm curious to know if that has caused any hurt feelings for you, a fight, or other disrespectful interactions with friends or family. And how can you be respectful and responsible using social media and texting to communicate? Finally, you could do all of those as a whole class discussion. You could do it in groups. You could type it all out and then discuss it. Would love for you to share your ideas with others and kind of bounce ideas off of each other. And then finally, like I mentioned last week, the Google form for you to complete about today's lesson. So that is what I have for today, everybody. Thank you very much for watching the video. I hope all goes well. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me and reach out. Have a good one. Bye, Moline.